Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I am doing this synastry today between Kim Kardashian and Lewis Hamilton. She's involved in another relationship. So I had to look at the chart to see what I found out between the two of them. And let me just say, this synastry is giving power, heat, and obsession. But there's a few red flags waving underneath the luxury lighting. Let's get into it. In his chart, the first thing that jumps out is that his Uranus is conjuncting her ascendant. This is him walking into her life like a power surge. The ascendant is the front door of the chart, and his Uranus does not knock. It blows the lights out. To her, he's different, unpredictable, and electric. You never know what to expect from Uranus. So whatever quirky traits he has, she accepts. And then it gets public because his Antaros and Sappho asteroids are conjunct her midheaven. So from the outside, this shows romance with a flashbulb on it. Antaros brings mutual attraction, and Sappho drapes eroticism, admiration, and visible chemistry all over it. And because it's at the top of the chart, on the MC, the public sees the energy first. Now, his Boda is conjuncting her sun. Boda is the Spanish word for wedding. So now he's looking at her through a wedding lens. His Boda walks right into her light, carrying marriage symbolism, and she starts looking like wife material to him. She feels the same way. She's looking at him like he could be her husband. Now, this is an out of sign and about a 3-degree orb, so I'm not going to act like this is definitely an engagement that's going to happen, but it is still close enough to touch her sun, and that does put marriage energy around her. It's not a wedding bell by itself, but it could be a little Cartier ring box somewhere down the line, especially with his Uranus conjuncting her bride asteroid. So they might become engaged suddenly or unexpectedly, or they could marry just out of the blue. Now, his Pluto is also conjuncting her sun. So that's Pluto walking into the center of her identity with a flashlight and a crowbar. Her sun is her essence, and his Pluto goes straight past the glamorous image and then right into the control room. So at first, this can feel magnetic. Like he sees through the surface in a way that feels dangerous and addictive. But Pluto does not stop at chemistry. Pluto wants possession. This is the kind of synastry where attraction turns into surveillance energy. She feels seen, but also studied, and pulled in, but exposed at the same time. And this is where the room gets darker because his Pluto is conjunct her De Janeiro in Scorpio. That's power walking straight into the victim asteroid and locking the door behind it. Pluto does not tap politely on that vulnerability. Pluto grips and obsesses. Pluto wants access and control to the part of her armor that already has a dent in it. I've seen this before. There is a strong possibility of S&M or other sexual power dynamics. Now, his Nessus, Eternatus, and Amichetia asteroids are all on her north node. Nessus is abusive boundary crossing energy. That's where somebody pushes too far. But then you add Eternatus here, and that's the forever stamp. So whatever happens here, it doesn't just evaporate because somebody changes their mind or stops answering texts. Eternatus makes it stick, and because it's sitting on her north node, it gives the whole connection that destined feeling. It's already written into their relationship. And Amichetia here brings friendship. That's the wild part. Because Amichetia gives it the soft entrance, the friendly doorway. But underneath that, you've got Nessus tied to Eternatus holding the glue gun. So this is not just friendship. This is friendship with a trap door. And because all of these energies are on her north node, This says this is the destiny of the relationship for her. And with his Venus and Mars in Pisces, he comes in like headlights through fog, soft around the edges, and blurry enough to make the warning signs look romantic. That's what makes the Nessus part slippery. The boundary crossing doesn't announce itself like a red flag. It drifts in through his charm. The "I didn't mean it like that" energy. Pisces softens the crime scene. Everything gets blurry. His excuses sound romantic. And before she even realizes it, Neptune already has the room covered in fog. Now, what kind of boundary crossing or abuse could there be? And where will it come from? I'm not really sure about that. There's not a lot of, I don't have his birth time, so I wouldn't be able to go that far to make that determination. But his Proserpina conjuncts her moon and IC. That is the underworld walking straight into her private sanctuary. That is her emotional foundation. It's where her inner child lives. The place people do not get access to unless something in her decides to unlock that door. And his Proserpina is sitting there. That is queen of the underworld energy. So he doesn't just make her feel something. He pulls her below the surface like a trap door opening under the floorboards. One minute she thinks she's in control, and the next minute he's inside the part of her chart that is home, safety, and the person she is when no one else is watching. That is the dangerous part. Because Proserpina does not just visit the underworld. She gets taken there and comes back changed. This is him touching the place where her moon naturally lives. And suddenly the whole connection feels deeper than it was ever supposed to. And because her moon is in Pisces, that makes the underworld imagery stronger. Pisces can get pulled below the surface fast because it romanticizes depth. It's like a rite of passage for her emotionally. And then the energy snaps. Because her Uranus is exact on his Astarte, 0 degrees. That is a match hitting gasoline. Astarte is battle heat. She is the goddess who does not lower her eyes when the room turns dangerous. Astarte is the goddess of war and passion, and her Uranus comes straight through that energy like a live wire. She ignites that energy in him, and he brings the challenge and the friction and the pull toward a woman who will not fold just because the energy gets intense. So one minute there is attraction and passion, and the next minute there could be blow-ups and war. She does not have to try to trigger him. Her Uranus walks into the room, and his Astarte already has the sword drawn. And with the South Node sitting there, this spark has past life familiarity written into it. Like the attraction and the fights already know each other, and they're comfortable with this. So this could be where the abuse and control comes in. And this is also where the glamour starts to crack and the danger walks in, because his Okada is right on her vertex. That's fate opening the door and letting the explosion walk in. Okada is blow-ups and escalation. The moment the room goes from controlled to craziness. So when he brings Okada to her vertex, this is not a little disagreement they smooth over with a trip to Venice and a bottle of champagne. This is the kind of energy where one comment or one wrong move can blow up the whole atmosphere. This ties back also to her Uranus on his Astarte, because Astarte already has the sword drawn, and Okada is the match hitting the power keg. But here's the twist. After all that battle heat, her Mars is conjuncting his Concordia asteroid. So even with Astarte holding the sword and Okada lighting the fuse, there is still a peace treaty sitting in the middle of the fire. Concordia in Roman mythology was the goddess of harmony, unity, and agreement. So this matters because it shows there is still energy in the chart where they can blow up at each other, but passionately make up afterward. It is saying it's like, enjoy the sparkle, but watch the fuse. That's what I see in this synastry. Let me know what you see in the chart, and I will see you in the next synastry that I do. And I will be back shortly. If you enjoyed the synastry, subscribe. I'll be back soon.